What's going on, adventurers in audio land? You are now tuned into the Point Noir podcast. I'm your host, Jerry III, aka Kimono Jack, and I just want to thank you all for joining us for our 18th session. You saw it in the title, you know what number it is, you can count. But listen, for those of y'all who've been counting consecutively week after week and haven't left a review or a rating on iTunes especially, please find a couple minutes and do that. 5 stars. Hey, love the show, blah, blah, blah. Hey, love your kimonos, blah, blah, blah. Hey, can I shoot my shot at this guest? I mean, listen, just put it in the comments. We'll try to work with you. So we just keep providing this amazing content, these amazing guests, and all we need is just a little bit of participation from your part. We'd really appreciate it. So without further delay, let's introduce this week's awesome guest. Joining us today as our guest at Point Noir is none other than Mr. Lordell Rush II. Make sure you check him out on Instagram and Twitter at Damn Lordell. That'll all be written out in the show description. But Lordell is not only an adventurer, both domestically and internationally, a musician, a working professional, but he also happens to be one of my closest friends. And we had the fortune of meeting each other when I lived in St. Louis a few years ago. And not only is he a super cool dude, but he has been one of the biggest supporters of the show up to this point. So it's awesome to have him on the show, to have him represented. And I think you guys are really going to enjoy his perspective. We talk about some funny things that have happened overseas. And it's just two adventurers kicking it. Like, that's all this show ever has been. So this is probably the best example of that. Hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you on the other side. Yo, what's going on, Lordell? Welcome to the Point Noir podcast. How are you feeling today, fam?
I'm feeling amazing, and it is dope to finally talk to you on the show. I've listened to all the episodes, so this is a cool moment right here.
Yeah, man, 100. And believe it or not, I don't know if you remember, but you're actually the first person to ever your app.
Yeah, it's been a minute, but yeah, I remember that.
That's why I started off with, I don't know if you remember or not, but yeah, I was like, yo, Del, I'm trying to start a podcast. I don't know if this shit works. You free? And you were like, bet, yeah, I'm free. And then we talked for like 34 minutes. I think it's probably somewhere in my files somewhere. We just talk about our day.
Dude, and look at it now. Like, this is the quickest growing podcast I've been following. I follow a lot of podcasts.
Oh, man, dude. We're just trying to keep it moving, man. And the funny thing is, actually, for those of you guys who don't know, Lordell's one of my best homies from when I lived in St. Louis. I was there for a short amount of time, but I happened to get connected with some real good bros. So it's an honor for me to be able to put them on the show and just hear more about their experience, you know, because I left St. Louis.
Yeah,
and
man. They
travel. We're all musicians. So let's just get it started, man. Why don't you tell the people about yourself?
So there's a few things that I do. Being a musician is one of them, and also just traveling and seeing new things, meeting people, going where the story leads me. But yeah, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I actually did hear you guys were ragging on St. Louis a little bit in the last episode, but that's, it's old news. So.
Yo, Emo's Pizza, for as long as this gets involved, Emo's Pizza is garbage, bro. Like, you don't even like it.
I don't. But this is the thing. There's there's such a huge food scene in St. Louis, but it depends on who you talk to. They may say Emo's and they're thinking about when Emo's first started. It's the whole story, though. It gets franchised and the quality goes down, but it's not the only thing in St. Louis. Was
Jim Crow still a thing when Emo's first started?
Yes.
Well, then, there you go. And I feel like when I was in St. Louis, there was more of an eating thing rather than a food thing. That's just me. That's just me being problematic from the East Coast. Y'all like to eat. There's a lot of eating that happens.
I have to disagree. You haven't gone out to eat we haven't gone out to eat.
That's fair.
We'll do that.
That's fair. All right, guys. That's what it is. But from St. Louis, you're a musician, you're a traveler. And it's interesting because I don't think we've been to a lot of the same countries. I feel like we've both traveled quite a bit, but you've been to some places I haven't even touched yet.
Dude, same, because, you've been to, I guess we're like divide and conquer right now.
Yeah.
But, I've been to a few of the islands, like Cuba and Uh, where else have I been? Um, Guadeloupe was interesting,
Nice.
and then like in Europe. So I haven't been able to touch like Asia or like Africa, which is where I really want to get to, but haven't been there yet.
Right. Yeah, we'll get you there for sure. So let's start about how you first started getting into travel because St. Louis has such an interesting cultural identity, and I think you'd agree. We actually had a
Hmm.
brother from St. Louis not too long ago, Patrick, and he's like
Yeah.
people don't leave. It's very southern in that way where people don't leave. So what was your experience like growing up that got you interested in either moving around domestically or internationally?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm a very late bloomer with like international travel. I've done a lot of domestic travel as a kid. My background's weird. I grew up as a missionary, so my parents did a lot of traveling, getting support for the mission they were building. So a lot of the Midwest travel I did as a kid, and then it kind of slowed up from there. And just like Patrick is right, like in the Midwest, maybe because we're in the middle or just the southern influence that we have, like you just don't think about traveling. There's so many people I've talked to, and they're just like, um, I've never been on a plane or I've never gotten on a train, never gone anywhere.
Right.
An interesting thing that I noticed is we did a passport event at my job at Square, and in that event, there were so many people. It's like, oh my God, this is all you have to do to get a passport because we had the forms and a photographer. It's like, yes, that's it. And it's just maybe because they are underexposed, they just don't think about it. So the same with me for quite a while to my early 20s, and I actually it's very serendipitous because your last last guest Darnell is the one who I met in LA. He's like, hey, I'm having a pumpkin and liquor party. It's just something super random. It's like, come through, and I just met him on Twitter. We just started talking about travel over warm liquor and like just a late night, just a couple friends, and that's like kind of how I got started. It's like, okay, light bulb moment. Why haven't I gone? So since then, just been traveling as much as I can, often as I can.
Yeah, I mean, and that's huge because that's the thing. I'm sure it's changed some of your experience, and I'd love for you
Oh,
to talk about
absolutely.
that. What was that first trip like? And then we'll come back to the whole missionary thing because I didn't know that.
Really? Oh, all right. Yeah, we'll circle around. But first international travel experience was with Darnell, and I think there was a group of about five of
Was
us
it with
that went
passport
out.
required?
No, so and I've told Darnell this. I feel like we were like the first unofficial passport required trip. We went to Oslo, Norway, France, London, and Amsterdam for King's Day, and it's just something even just like step out of the plane onto soil that's in a different part of the world. That's just kind of mind blowing, and it does kind of make you feel a little bit small. It's like, yo, there's so much out here, and I've been living in this little bubble. So just like getting off from the moment of getting off the plane, like that's an eye opening experience, and then to see things in different languages, like, yo, what's going on?
Right, to suddenly be an adult and then you're illiterate.
Exactly. Like that's exactly it. It's like, yo, I know I can read, but this doesn't make any sense.
I can read over there, but whatever happened when we got off this plane is not really vibing like that anymore. Yeah, that's what's up, man. So you guys possibly were the guinea pigs for passport required. And shout out to Savvy Business Sense, prototyping your shit before you release it to the market. Great idea.
Yeah, right? And even that double as we actually were a part of filming his documentary, just talking about black people leaving America, just what is
Seeking asylum?
seeking asylum. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been on self care mode all day. I'm so chill today. I just haven't been thinking about anything. But yeah, we did that, and we were the guinea pigs for passport required. So that was dope.
Oh, that's what's up.
And even just seeing like culturally how things are different. Like going to Oslo, Norway is the first country. I think they're a lot more like sexually liberated than the U.S., where we're a lot more reserved. And so they just have like random statues that would never be up in an airport parking lot or like a green area. And it's just like, yo, this is super different. So just embracing that culture and just the experience was amazing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, having that perspective alone, when you think about, and it's interesting because today is Indigenous Peoples Day, formerly Columbus Day, so
Right.
problematic for so many reasons. But when you think about the history, the upbringing of the United States, it is problematic to say the least, and very repressed
Yeah.
when it comes to sexuality and expression. Like, it was formed by religious extremists.
Hmm.
They were like, "Hey, y'all can't bang in England anymore, so we're gonna need to send you across an ocean." Have you heard of the ocean? Yeah,
Don't worry about it. You'll get there.
yeah. Columbus did it. Not.
uh,
I was just saying, Columbus never made it to North America. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. Yeah, that's actually something that I talked about on my first trip. Oh, I felt hella bad on my first trip because I'm not used to, well, I wasn't at the time, like used to people having so diverse, just a worldview.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, so, I mean, I went and stayed in a hostel on my way back, and I was just hanging out in the common room with some folks, and they brought up Christopher Columbus, and then just started ragging on this, like, "Oh, you're from the States, bro?" And it's like, "Yeah," like I'm just listening, and then they just like you can see that side of like almost not hate, but just like real disregard for Americans because we kind of have a elitist mindset when it comes to things because we're not we're not circled by all these other countries, so we don't necessarily have to like be inclusive about as many cultures, or maybe it's just not as close to home as it is for them over there in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, and also being an economic world power helps, but you got to like a
Yeah.
lot of that history started before us and continued after us. So it's kind of a different
Hmm.
vantage point where they have the potential to see both sides of the stories. Here's what was cooking
Hmm.
before you guys started popping, and now you guys are popping, and there's a disconnect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because for us, it's very much United States started when it started, and
Hmm.
you know, that's when the world started for some people.
Basically. But we're so young. Like you can go to Europe or London. You go to London and see the train stations they have, and there's just layers underneath there, and it goes so far down. Just like we just don't have that kind of history in the U.S.
Yeah, did you ever have a moment where you really felt that? I can think of a few times when I first went to the more rural regions of France where I was like, "Damn, your village has been around longer than my entire country."
Yeah, I mean, so I had a experience earlier this year, and there was a lady. There's an Uber driver, so I was doing some work in London. I'm headed to work that day, and it's a black lady in the Uber, and I just like to really take those opportunities to ask questions that I wouldn't, I can't get that in the history book, not to this level of like being personable.
Right.
And she just really broke down just the history of how their hospital system, their transportation system, like all this was built by like the Caribbean folk and Haitian folk and everybody that were hired or brought in to build this infrastructure. And that's just something that's not readily like available information here. Like unless you go and talk to people about their history, there's just so much that you don't get. And a lot of people look at London, they're just like, well, there's everything there. And it's like, yeah, but they were also colonizers of the world. Just they imported culture into the city, and that's something that you don't quite experience in the U.S. to the same capacity. It's just like that's pretty mind blowing to me.
Yeah, importing culture and just by proxy because they were really importing affordable labor.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really interesting, and France reflects that a lot too. And the States has that. It's just there's a whole nother narrative going on that's complicated. Uh,
Yeah.
but we don't have to dive into all of that on such a day as today. So what was the thing that on that first trip? So I've never been to Norway.
So Norway is beautiful. It's it's super beautiful. The weird thing about Norway and with us not being as north as they are, like just experiencing such a long day.
Hmm.
So my first day there, I think we got up and just started walking around the city, maybe like 8. We get back to the hostel at like 10. Uh, then we're just hanging out in the common room, meet some random people there, start playing foosball. Next thing you know, it's like 4 a.m. and it's still light outside. I'm
Oh damn.
like, what the hell is going on? And so like we hung out to like 4:30, 5 o'clock. It started getting dark. Go to bed. It's back light again at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. So that's one thing that's different about them. Just the city's very clean as well, and I think that does kind of speak to how folks care for their country. Like like you do see like people, manicuring it, making sure that it's cool. If you see trash, pick it up, that type of thing. So it's like super clean. But I didn't get to see too much more other than like their artwork. They do have a lot of graffiti everywhere, so that was super dope.
Yeah.
And it just their graffiti kind of still speaks to like their sexual liberation. I'm like, yo, this is a thing here. But Norway's great. I like it. I would definitely go back and visit.
You've mentioned this a couple times already, so I just like to be clear for myself to know what I'm supposed to expect when I see Norway. So are you just talking about more nudity in paintings, or are you talking about like depictions of events? Like, what do you mean by, or large poetry
Both.
talking, like what's going on here?
So there's things like they have canals there, not on the same scale as like Amsterdam, but they have canals. So we're walking down the street, and then you see like a swan that's like in the shape of a boat, and it's just like floating down. Like nobody's like guiding it or anything. It's just floating down, but it's actually like a man's part. And I was like, yo, this swan looks weird. It's like, oh no, it's actually a penis. Okay,
Yeah,
so it's like that kind of
gotcha.
stuff you see everywhere, and it's just like that's just normal for them. Where here it's like, yeah, no, it's not gonna fly.
Right, like oh my gosh, I've never seen one of those in the wild before.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Pokemon Go.
Right, gotta snap them all. Yeah, no, okay, I got you. Okay, I don't know. I mean, I remember when I first went to Quebec and Montreal, it was a different experience. Being more liberated, like you had like Pinot on like the late night channels, and it was like, oh,
Huh?
that's crazy because we have to pay
Really?
for that in the States. Yeah, bro.
Wow, that's wild. That's wild. I've never been to Canada before, so
You have it in
still
other
looking
places in
forward to going
Europe for
there.
sure, but like even like the sort of advertisements and what can come across through media, we notice it a lot
Mm-hmm.
with the words that they choose for their favorite genre of music, which is hip hop, and hip
Mm-hmm.
hop and rap. You'd be like, damn, we can't say this on the radio, but their commercials can be a little bit more, let's say, liberated. I like that term. That feels very 2018.
Yeah, that's super on brand for them. And it's like, well, this is cool though. This is what y'all do. And when in Rome.
Right. You thought this, commercial was just about hamburger buns. Like, nah, my guy. Nah, I got
Nope.
stay woke, family. That's what's up.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So you guys did Azal, and then tell me about King's Day, because Amsterdam comes up a lot, and Amsterdam's a huge
Mm-hmm.
Black history hub. Like, there's just so much there. What was that experience like? And can you talk about King's Day in particular?
Yeah. So I went to King's Day a couple of times. The first time, it's just I'm just trying to think what's the biggest celebration that we have here, and then you just need to like triple or quadruple it. It's so many people. Um,
Is it
I
like a
want to
St.
say
Pat's or something?
so it's similar, but it's on a much larger scale. So instead of like green, everyone does orange, and they're celebrating the king's birthday. Used to be the Queen's, and I don't quote me on this because I don't want to get their history wrong, but it used to be Queen's Day. Then they changed to King's Day when the king took over. In Dutch, I believe it's Koningsdag, and they also have King's Night, which is the day before. So it's basically a full party in the city center. They shut everything down, like no transportation exists in the center. You have to walk everywhere until you get to the outskirts of where the party is.
Mm-hmm.
It's just wall to wall people just raving. There's like it's a full city rave. It's really it's wild, but it's a dope time. It's a super dope time. And I'm trying to go back next year for King's Day because I've missed it the last couple years, but it's great. Like if anybody has the opportunity to go, like make it happen. Definitely check it. That's experience that you want in your lifetime.
Okay, so what time of year is it?
So it's April 27th every year. So it keeps the same year or same date. I'm not sure when the king's birthday is. I want to say it's like wintertime, so they actually just do it in April because it's too cold to do it earlier in the year.
Right.
But yeah, that's the time frame for it.
But it sounds wild, and like I don't really like a lot of people being around me like that. But
Mm-hmm.
if I was there with a couple homies, like if everybody's kind of in that vibe and it's positive, I might be down for something like that.
Yeah, like I'm with you on that. I don't really like people that much either, but the good thing about it is that you can go kick it for a little bit, and then you can go and chill if it's your style. Go into a coffee shop, or so you have those. At least I take those moments where it's like, okay, I need to get away from people,
Right.
and then you can come back. and whatever floats your boat.
Word. So what are some like King's Day traditions? What is there, or are there any? Like what besides the orange? Is there
Hmm.
an activity? Is there like a countdown at midnight? Like what else is there a king that parades through?
There, it's just madness. So there aren't any that I know of outside of the orange. Uh, like people are there. You're just gonna see some of everything. Like you can see these kids out here playing violins. There's the boat. I will say there is the boat parade. So they have the boats just going through the canals, and they'll be mostly party boats. And then they make some of them have themes. So it's really what you make out of it. So there's no countdown or anything. They're just like, yo, we're just gonna have this big ass party in the middle of the center. So that's just what it is.
Okay. Well, wear orange and turn up King's Day 2019.
Yep.
And every year after. Okay. That's lit.
Word.
So after you've spent some time going to these different places, was there, that being your first international trip, how did you feel when you came back to St. Louis?
Oh, that's kind of a loaded question. Like there's a like going out there, experiencing the world and coming back, I immediately wanted to go somewhere else.
Right.
I was like, hey, I've experienced like such a small part of the world. Like I immediately started planning my next trip out of the country. I definitely became more of a tourist in my own country. Uh, it's just like, when you go places and you have people show you their city and just to see the like how proud they are to be from where they are. It's like, of course, America has its history, but there are also a lot of dope things here as well. Uh, I think self-awareness grew for me,
Mm.
just like my space in the world and just being able to go out and interact with someone, sharing their home and their culture and their food and their traditions. Like that just really just made me just aware of like just who I am in relation to how I interact with other people and the experiences that you have.
Right. 100%. I can definitely relate and see how travel would give you that opportunity because that's what it is, right? You could have been like, this is whack. But you had a
Hmm.
good time and you came back and you said, okay, how do I deal with this without leaving the country every month? Travel around domestically.
Yeah, yeah, like absolutely. I mean, domestic travel has been dope too. Like it can do the same thing as international travel. It's just within because we're such a huge country and we have so many diverse cultures in this country. So that's been dope as well.
100%. And it's interesting when I'm looking for guests for the show. A couple times I've gotten a response like, bro, like I haven't really done enough to do the show. I'm not going to call anybody out because we're not going to
Hmm.
make it too spicy like that. But I got a couple people in mind. You know,
You're about to make it hot,
yeah,
bro.
you know you know who you are. But it's if it's not for you, it's not for you. But sometimes that's the
Hmm.
response I get. I've only done this, that, and the other. But it's like no, domestic travel is super important. There's so many interesting aspects that people never see and never travel internationally. And you do it in such an interesting way through your job. You want to speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, and I was gonna just say when you were talking about folks that may not think they've traveled enough, it really is what you make it, Because I travel domestically now, maybe a little bit different than I did before I traveled overseas. Like a lot of times, people are gonna go to a city, they're gonna go to Vegas, and they'll say, there's the casinos there and there's the touristy stuff, which is true, but you can limit your travel with the mindset. Like now I'm traveling, it's like I don't, I may do some things that I want to see that are local or like, touristy things, but like, what do the people that live there have to offer? And you can experience a total different city, even if you've been there before with a different mindset. So I just wanted to just touch on that because it's huge in traveling. It really can change everything and like your experience and what you see in places you might not think has anything that's different or unique.
100%. In the same way that you were talking about the taxi driver when you were in London that was talking about how the area was built up. I was in DC a
Hmm.
couple months ago and I was in an Uber. Older lady, could have been, my grandmother. She was like, oh, yeah, well, this is where we did such and such back in the day. And this used to be that. As a city, especially these quickly gentrifying cities, that stuff is
Yeah.
getting is getting built on top of.
Oh,
It's getting
bro.
redeveloped. And the thing is, our
Yeah.
elders who knew this stuff and used to be out in the streets like that, she was like, "Oh yeah, the street used to be full of whores and hookers, sex workers, sex workers."
Come through,
You and
grandma.
I both know the terminology, but like, she was just keeping it real. But our elders are, not always available to share that energy and that
Yeah.
history. So yeah, dudes, talk about it. Talk about how you've been traveling differently, and especially about the festivals and how you've been involved with that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. So, and remind me, I want to actually talk about when I did couch surfing because that kind of ties in with what Grandma was saying about the hookers and things. But so, so I've been blessed to travel with my job for like the last couple of years, and with a department that does large live events. So I've been able to do like Rolling Loud and Coachella and Stagecoach. So that's been interesting where I'm traveling and I have an agenda. It's like, hey, we need to make sure that this festival's set up for success and whatever way we're supporting them. So that's also a great thing because a lot of times you hear that, oh, I can't afford to travel or I don't know how. Even listening to this podcast, I've gotten a lot of ideas about how you can have your travel funded and have a corporate sponsor. Like, you this may be tied into another job or something like that, but that's an amazing way to get out there. Like whether event company or if you're going to teach English over abroad, like all those are great ways, and it really just takes a little research and you can make it happen.
Right. Right. So you mentioned Coachella, that you were at the Beyonce Coachella, right?
Oh man, yeah. Bro, like I told so I came back to the States and I was telling my friend, not States, but St. Louis. Um she snatched edges I didn't know I had. I never thought I would say that sentence ever in my life. And that was amazing. It was like that was a moment that's like, I'm at Coachella for free and I'm getting to watch Beyonce perform. Like I've never been like a Beyonce stan where I'm like, I'm about to
Right.
travel and go see her, but it's definitely worth it. So that was a great experience. She's
Bro,
a
that
top
live
notch
show
performer, dude.
is crazy.
Ah, oh my! And then she did the Black National Anthem, and there's so many people in the crowd. They're like, "Oh my God, what is this? I've never heard this
Oof.
song before." Don't worry
Right,
about it. Just
just
sit back. It's
right.
not. It wasn't
For
for
who
you.
it's for, and you're not the intended on, but hey, who better to put you on
Ah,
game? So
that's
some big
amazing, though.
festivals like Coachella. Have you done like Moog Fest, Burning Man, South by Southwest?
I haven't done any of those. Actually, I'm trying to work my way into Burning Man because that's just a different beast there. Coachella is more of I want to be Instagrammable, and Burning Man I think it's getting a little more commercialized, but it still got that like very rugged. I'm out here just to experience nature and this music. So I do want to check that out.
Okay.
That would be cool.
Bet. I know the stories I hear. I mean, your days are packed, so you found a way to travel, but you meet a lot of really interesting people, right? You get that festival, kind of like that mini communal experience. You're here for a short time, you guys have a job to get done, and that's got to
Hmm.
be very similar to being in a hostel overseas.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. It's kind of a do or die. And that sounds very extreme, but just like for me, I'm pretty much like an introverted person. Even though I'm a musician and on stage, you've got to turn into somebody different, that raging rock person. But it's just like when I'm overseas, I have to get into the mindset of or staying with a hostel because I've done that in California too. It's been pretty cool there too. But you just meet people for a very short period of time, so it's like as an introvert, I have to really program myself like, I'm going to get out here, I'm going to meet people, and we're going to kick it. And it's always been a rewarding experience, like
Yeah.
every single time I've done it. Like, I don't think that I've met anyone that's like, I wish I hadn't talked to them. I wish I hadn't heard their story of their country. No, it's like, it's always been a rewarding
That's what's
staying in
dope,
hostels
man,
for
that
me.
you've never regretted, you know, expending that, especially as an introvert. I can relate to that as well. Spending that extra energy, knowing it's going to drain you, but never feeling remorseful that, hey, I got a
Hmm.
little bit more perspective for my day, if nothing else.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, even when I went to Cuba, I stayed in what they call Casa Particular, and you just stay. It's kind of an Airbnb,
Mm-hmm.
but you stay with a family.
Yeah.
You have kind of a host family. And I'm like, for me, I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't like people like that. And they're going to be like in my space. But, like that was such a rewarding experience, just being able to speak with them. Like, my Spanish is not great by any stretch of imagination, but like I knew enough to communicate with them after a few days. Like I sounded like I was from there, you know, and it's just the love that they pour out, because they value the people that come through and their experiences so much. Like, that was like an incredible experience. And if you get too overwhelmed, your energy's too drained, like, go sit at the top of the hill and watch the sunset. You know, like, that's enough of a recharge for me. It's like that made it like I just wouldn't second guess
Yeah,
doing it again.
100%, man. That's really insightful. That's really insightful. And I think what's interesting is having that kind of mindset. Like you said, we're on stage, we're professional musicians, and yeah, that rage factor is very real.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, y'all, St. Louis was an interesting time in my life where I just gotten back from Paris, France. Just got out of an interesting, intense relationship. Listen, I showed up. I'd never been to St. Louis before. My parents live in O'Fallon, which is the suburbs, for real, for real. So I had no car. My license was expired. I had no friends. I had no job. Like, I was...
This sounds
bro. But the thing is, I was super grateful to have a place to even come back to. But when I started getting involved in the scene and stuff, you know, I kind of went back to some of my musician rock star-esque ways, which involved getting just mad schmacked and hanging out with these dudes till 4 a.m. Drinking long vodka waters and calling it a day. So, but what's interesting, what I was going to say, I was saying all that about being in St. Louis, and it reminded me of what you mentioned about, you know, meeting people and making those quick connections. For me, being in Dallas almost 2 years, I find that it's weird for me to know that I'll meet somebody and possibly have to see them again in 3 months. Like, I don't have that sort of instinct trained into me now. I'm cool for the, hey, nice to meet you, let's share our life stories in 8 hours. And then after that, I'm like burned out. I see you in 6 months and I'm still tired. Like, you're not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be gone and you're supposed to be somewhere else.
Yeah, it's weird. So I have a different version of that. So I grew up expecting to see the same people every week at church or wherever. But then I just grew into, like, you know, I set my dosage for a person, and a lot of people just have a short dosage, so I don't need to see a lot of you. I have a few people that I can see a lot of, and then I need to have some alone time. But yeah, going traveling is definitely giving me the other side, which you're more used to. Like, I might never see you again, but I'm just going to spend this time with you and make the best of it.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to manage that, because I'm like, damn. Something's got to change. Either all of Dallas needs to move south or something, or like I just got to dip, because it's weird, bro. Trying to figure out how to be, you know, a better version of you. It's like,
yeah, or maybe just a different I don't know. I'm in Target, like, yeah, I hope I don't see anybody I know. No offense to you guys that I know, but it's just like your dosage may have run out.
All right, I'm over my limit, my allotment.
Yeah.
So let's talk about couch surfing, because apparently that had something to do with sex workers. And
okay, so to clarify, it doesn't. I was just what your grandma was saying, as far as like being with random people and bringing up the culture of the environment or where they're from. Kind of, I did not mean to. It almost sounds like I got like sold into sex slavery, and that didn't happen. So,
or you just had to sleep on a dirty couch.
That's possible too. So like, so actually, Darnell's the one who actually hit me to couch surfing.
Shout out to Darnell and all the goodness he has brought and is continuing to bring into the world. Salute to you,
absolutely, sir. Absolutely. It's definitely been a positive influence in a lot of people's lives. When he first told me about it, that sounds exactly like sleeping on a dirty couch. I'm good. But like when I got into it, it's really pretty regulated, as far as like you have to put in like a little bit about yourself. Your host person would have to put in about themselves, like, hey, these are my interests.
Can we back up a little bit? Can you explain to people what couch surfing is? Because it's actually a subculture of travel.
Yeah, it's actually huge if you don't know about it. Once you start checking into it, you'll see. So couch surfing is kind of the Airbnb for people. You have everyone that's on there. You have your own profile, and it's basically for travelers who are going to a different city and may want to link up with someone or may need a place to stay, but are also wanting to engage in that person's city with them. So it's not a hotel service. So they definitely frown upon people who are like, hey, I'm in town for 3 days. I need somewhere to crash and then leave. So that's not what it's for. But for those who are wanting to use it to engage with other people, you do put in what you're about, your interests, where you've been. So you kind of get a feel for a person before you go and meet up with them or stay with them. And that's a really dope part about it. 'Cause I stayed with someone in New York, which is not even overseas, but it ended up being a great experience, named Chris. And he was an older guy, and I normally like kind of stay within my age bracket somewhat when it comes to like staying with people. So that had me a bit, maybe a little paranoid. It's my first experience with this app, but the conversation and just his take on New York, because you can talk to a million people and everybody can have a different story. Like that was just a real rewarding experience, and I came away from it just like a better person having that interaction. And I try to leave the same impact on the people I'm with. But yeah, whatever their living situation, it could be a dirty couch, but they would they would say that like up front. You would know what kind of sleeping arrangement it would be, but it's more so about the interaction, and getting to know people. So it's pretty cool, though. I definitely recommend it.
Thanks for speaking to that and explaining it a little bit, because a lot of people don't know. You kind of,
Hmm.
if you wanted to put it out simply, you have your hotels and resorts, you have your Airbnbs, you have your hostels, and then underneath that you have literally couch surfing, which is hanging out on people's
Yeah,
couches, and it's a very interesting community because only people who vibe with the idea would even check it out.
yeah, and even the aspect of like the social aspect of it, where it doesn't even include staying with someone or hosting someone. I did it same weekend or week I was in New York. I actually just like, hey, I'm trying to go out and get drinks just on the app, and so I ended up hanging with these three guys from Italy, and we just got shit faced, and we kicked it in New York for a night, which they are strangers, but it's. I mean, I guess that is that part where you have to come out of your comfort zone, but I mean, it's just been a good time.
It's a really interesting community, but the people who are into it love it. They love it.
Yeah,
And it's an opportunity
yeah.
to,
I'm trying to do more of it.
I mean, you should do it in St. Louis when you got time or you got the patience, bro, because there's a lot in the
Hmm.
Lou that you've seen and a lot of, a lot more resources,
Yeah,
St. Louis is deep, y'all. If you guys haven't gotten a chance to check out the history there, man, St. Louis is really
whew.
interesting. It's heavy.
Yeah. The Underground Railroad used to go under a house I stayed in
Wow.
in South City. So yeah, it goes deep.
Bro, you could do a podcast where it's just rediscovering like really relevant but like weird shit. Like, hey, let me stay at every couch surfing spot that used to be on the old Underground Railroad. Like, what kind of shit would that be?
Oh, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
Uh,
Yeah, let's talk about
Man,
that.
I'm the
You
ideas
know,
guy. That's the value I provide.
I mean, come on. I mean, it's a world of ideas out here just waiting to be realized.
Yeah. Well, here's one thing that I really like that you mentioned about your couch surfing experience in New York is kind of like that intergenerational exchange of information. I mentioned being in an Uber, you
Yeah.
mentioned London, but the willingness for you to be open to that experience, to hear the perspective of someone who's kind of quote unquote an elder, just more experienced.
Hmm.
I find that I got hip to that when I started meeting more internationals. I'm hanging out
Yeah.
drinking in Greenville, South Carolina with some coworkers who were in their 60s and 70s. I'm in my
Hmm.
early 20s, and just the amount of information and value was massive. How do you feel about those experiences?
I think that so like how people say that you kind of find yourself or learn a lot about yourself if you travel or if you travel solo. And I don't know that I really hear a lot of people put that into like a more defined description.
Hmm.
So I think that plays a part in just finding out who you are, because you think you know who you are until you're kind of stripped of everything that's familiar, and then you have the opportunity where you may not be around anyone who knows you. You can actually reinvent yourself pretty quickly that way, you know?
Right.
And you start to learn more about who you are. And so those encounters with people who are older than you or maybe younger than you or have had different experiences or different languages, like that kind of exposure kind of builds like what you're made of because you can wrestle with that and see how it's different from your philosophies or what you've always thought. And it's such an opening thing that you might not even know that you need more of. So that's what I get out of those experiences with people that are just totally different from me. You know, it's like, yo, this is what they believe. Let me kind of match and wrestle with that and see what I think about that. Or like, you know, and you just find out more about yourself that way.
Right. Right. And do you find a lot of similarities in the people that you encounter and have these exchanges with, or is everything just completely unique? Like, is there a certain characteristic of a person that just makes them open to having these discussions?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's kind of like the same, right, on a very basic level. And then maybe the things that make up their culture, like musical differences between Indian music versus like Western music. Those are the things that you discover, you experience, and you see how we're all kind of pointing towards some things that are on a very basic level the same. It's like, what are the roads that people are taking to get there? And that's kind of my takeaway from it. It's like, yeah, see what we're all getting after, but like the way you're going after is super interesting to me. So like, let's talk about that over tea or whatever, you know?
Right, to check out the different approaches that people took to get to the same kind of destination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, bet. So what's been like the craziest thing that's happened to you while traveling, either domestically or internationally? Just pick one. Because now I want to know these stories now. Because it sounds really enlightened and really, really cool and nice. But it should be going down on the road.
This is true. Oh, just one. Damn, man, you got to narrow it down like that. I would say I'm trying to decide if I want to tell this on a podcast or not.
No one actually listens to this show, so it's fine.
That's
you.
That's a negative.
It's pretty much just you.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, we'll take take your word for it. Nobody's ever going to hear this. So I actually got coerced into sex in Cuba.
Okay.
That would be the craziest thing.
Coerced? So, was there an exchange of currency involved? Or you got the conversion rate wrong, and then you're like, well, damn, now this has got to go down.
So I'll tell you the story, and then I'm gonna just let you put a label on it.
No judge zone. There will be no labels. Let's hear what happened. This is
all
interesting.
Right, cool. So what happened? I spent a week in Cuba, and it's the last day. And so I'm being a musician. I hadn't seen a keyboard player yet. I've seen plenty of bands, but not a keyboard player. So there's a huge concert set up outside. And the weather in Cuba is generally gorgeous. There's no problems. But it ended up raining right before the band went on. So everybody's kind of running into taxis and things. And this is like one thing I'm generally very cautious about. Like if I'm getting into a taxi, like it needs to have the taxi sign.
Right.
But
smart tips though. Like let's talk about that and then dive into the story, because I might not have even known that.
Yeah, so like going to Cuba, I had my grandmother, my mom, everybody's like, oh no, it's so dangerous because of how Cuba's been portrayed to the U.S. And Cuba and the U.S. relationship hasn't been the best over the years, embargo and things like that. So people's notion of Cuba is that it's a very dangerous place, which that is absolutely not true at all. We're just, we fed propaganda and we run with it. But so I'm doing a lot of research before I go. I don't really plan out itineraries. I just kind of just learn a lot in general and then just go. So they have pedicabs and they have regular taxis. And so I try to look at transportation before I go somewhere because I don't have time to be taken overseas, I mean, real talk, like I don't have a cell phone out here, no Wi-Fi, I don't have anything. My grandmother would never hear from me again.
Right.
But yeah, like and some like general things I look at is like transportation, and then I also look at common things you should not do. Just have a general awareness of a place, and not overboard, but just like a general preparedness before going to a new country.
That's fair.
But yeah, so That's safety tip segment right there.
Right. So you hop into a
Um,
cab.
yeah, that's not a cab, but I didn't know this at the time. And the guy is, I mean, at this point, my Spanish is very conversational, but it's not advanced. But he asked me, he's like, "Hey, are you going home for the night, or are you trying to go somewhere?" He's like, "To bailar." It's like, "You trying to go dance, like discoteca, trying to find a club?" I'm like, "No, I'm just gonna go home." You know, night kind of got, a little washed because of the rain, but it's like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. So dude's like, "Hey, well, I know of a club. Like, let's go there." This conversation is it's like Spanglish right at this
Mm-hmm.
point, but we understand each other, so that's golden. And so he convinced me, like, "Hey, I have a spot. Let's go." I was like, "All right, cool. Let's go ahead and go there." Um, I'm like, "Hey, cuantos? How much? You charge me extra for it?" It's like, "Nah, we're just gonna go." I'm like, "All right, cool." Like, I'm hyped. I'm like, "Yo, it's my last night. Like, I'm about to kick it. Like, I'm about to boogie. Like, we're about to like have a good time." We started driving there, and he stops like one condition. I was like, "Yo, this guy's is about the trip."
Right.
He's like, "One condition," and then and also like when I got in after we started driving, there's this really small lady in the front seat that I did not see because she's just like real small, and then like she kind of just, I guess she like sat up. I was like, "Whoa, we're multiplying here." So it's like, yeah, the condition was you have to bring my girl with you. And I'm like, no. But then at this point, I'm like, yo, I'm in this unmarked car. Got this dude in the front, this girl on the other side. He's now taking me someplace I don't know. I don't have any cell phone service. I don't have any way to communicate with anybody. All I have is my broken Spanish. So it's like at this point, let me go ahead with it. 'Cause I honestly don't know, like what the situation is. Like I don't know if I'm in danger or if they're just trying to hustle me. I don't know.
Right.
So I think I had about, I want to say maybe like 100 kook on me, which is the quote unquote rich people's currency in Cuba. They also have it's CUP and then CUC. Uh, I'm forgetting what it stands for. It's like Cuban. Uh, you know what? I don't want to mess that up, so I'll let you guys do your Googles and
Do you
find
Google's
that.
kids?
But yeah, so I had about $100 on me. It's the end of the night. Like I budgeted how I needed to, so I was like, I have some money to spend or whatever. But I'm not trying to get robbed, or
Right.
Uh, so we pull up to the space, and I ask him like, "Hey, like, I'm asking in Spanish, like, is this expensive?" Like, I have so many questions now.
Right.
Uh, he's like, "No, no, no, no expensive." I was like, "All right." I'm thinking you lying to me, but whatever. I got to play along. So we get to this spot. It looks like the most extravagant place I've ever seen. I was like, "Shit!" I was like, "What is about to happen?" So, and then she's got this really, really nice dress on. Like she's looking great. I'm like, "Oh man." So we go inside. It looks like you would see in the movies. Like I've been hanging out with the locals in Cuba, dirt roads in some of these places, like not living a lavish lifestyle at all. So it's a complete change. So we get in there, we're having our date, and so it's half Spanish, half English. I'm asking as many questions as I can. Like it's starting to get boring. I'm ready to go. And then she's trying to get me drunk actually, and I'm just trying to not
Who's
drink.
buying?
And
Who's
uh,
buying drinks?
oh, I mean, I'm definitely gonna be buying all the drinks. There was a tab. Uh,
Okay.
she started on the tab. She actually bought a pack of cigarettes too, which I smoked half of those. I don't smoke at all, but I figured if it's on my tab, like I have to get some value out of this. So I smoked half a pack of
I know those
cigarettes.
nights. I know.
Uh, yeah, and so end of the night, like I'm trying to see how I can escape the situation. The guy is down the street with his headlights on. I'm like, this is totally a James Bond situation, but I don't have enough skills to get out of it.
Right, and you
So
left a burner in
long
St. Louis.
left the burner in
Allegedly.
St. Louis.
Allegedly.
Yeah, if there were a burner, like, trust me, there's nothing in my house, no home invasions, don't, all that. But yeah, I have nothing to protect myself, just a little bit of Tai Chi, which it takes 4 years to really get up to practical use. So, I basically got taken.
He said, I'm only 36 months in. What the fuck do you want from me?
I can't hold my sword properly yet. Wait. Oh, man. If you ever taken Tai Chi, it's really just a lot of slow motion.
Yeah.
It makes you feel great, but it's not practical for fighting.
Yeah, not in real time.
Oh no. So yeah, I mean, so that's basically the story. We'll cut it short there, but there was a pimp and his lady that I got taken advantage of by because don't jump in unmarked cars in Cuba.
Right.
You know.
So, okay. I think I see where this is going.
Yeah, it's going exactly where you think it's going. You know, just save the details for the kids. But
I mean, was the couch dirty or not though?
oh no, it was a hostel I was renting, so it's just one space there.
So privacy in the hostel. You had a one person hostel room.
Yeah, so this is actually a good tip that happened. I met some people from Germany when I went to this random waterfall. You know, at this point I had no itinerary, so I'm just kind of asking locals and just doing that. So I met them at this random waterfall, and I just heard English because I'd been speaking in Spanish for the week, and I was just like trying my best to like remember my English words.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure you know this from living in France. Like, if after you don't use English for so long, it almost becomes like weird to hear it and speak
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And so, like, I hung out with them, and they actually got me a really great deal on like just my own room. So I did that for like the last couple nights. So that was really cool. And they had excellent Spanish, so they helped me out.
That's a really good tip, though, for those who might be shy on the whole hostel situation. They have different arrangements. You could be in a room with 8 people.
Yeah.
You could be in. I've been in a 3 bunk room, and then I've been in private rooms actually quite frequently,
Mm-hmm.
and it's still a third of the price of what you pay at a hotel, and sometimes even less. So, hostels for the win. I think we really turned that story
Yeah.
into something that we could use as a learning opportunity for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And not the movie Hostel. Everybody brings up the movie Hostel that I haven't seen, but it's nothing like that.
It's nothing like that. And, really, if that's going to hold people off from traveling and using hostels, that keeps the prices low for the
Mm.
rest of us.
Yeah. There's a lot of personal problems out there. People not getting their travel on.
I mean, listen, everything's not for everybody, but for the things that we love, we're really about them.
This is true. Yes,
That's a
sir.
wild story, bro. I have some wild stories. None quite hit that level of intensity or currency exchange. Though I will say I did end up going to South Africa once. And are you familiar with the term blesser?
No, not really.
Okay, you know what? It's just us chatting.
Let's talk
Yeah,
about it.
it's only you and
Yeah.
I listen to this podcast. So there's a term called blesser in South Africa, and it's really like a combination of bless her. So it's because South Africa came up with a lot of like overnight millionaires, like people with just mad money. So it's kind of like getting a sponsor. It's different levels of
Hmm.
sponsorship of women. So like a level one blesser might, take you out to a couple dates, take care of your cell phone bill. Level two is
Mm-hmm.
gonna, might put some money on your car note. Na 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 na. Level three, we're talking
Mm-hmm.
vacations, the whole shebang sort of deal. So I ended up being a level one blesser in one of my experiences out there on my vacation,
Oh wow.
nonetheless. Yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah,
That is
yeah.
cool. That's super cool. Bro, I have to go out to Africa. I'm going next year. Absolutely. I just need to figure out when, but that just sounds like a life-changing experience. Everybody that I've heard just speak about it.
Bro, if you're open to it and it resonates with you, definitely go out. There's so
Mm-hmm.
much to see, and there's so much there. And actually, let me ask you, how do you save money when you're planning these trips? Because you are a planner, and that's one huge difference between you and I. You will
Uh,
plan things out, and I just can't do it, bro. I can't
uh,
commit. I can't
let's
commit to
see.
that.
Well, so I have two different ways. So like there's a trip that I'm going on next year that's actually like a group trip. So I know that's coming up. And so as far as saving, I've done one where so the one that I went on with Darnell, for example, I just anything that I broke in cash that was under $20, I just put it aside. And I that's what I used to pay for my trip. I didn't think about it. I just had what I needed by the time the trip came up. So that's one way I've done it. Another way is that you know what? Honestly, I don't know. I think I just like I haven't put too much thought into it. I just know that I usually just save a little bit here and there if I either have somewhere that I'm going to go or if I just know that I might want to go somewhere. I just save up money so then when I'm ready, I just kind of pull the trigger. Like Cuba wasn't really a plan. I think I knew maybe 2 weeks in advance that I was going to go there, and I was just like, hey, this is how much I have. This is what I can do when I get there, and I just went.
So, are you using any websites to get tickets or accommodations besides staying in hostels, or are you just paying full fare for everything when you go out?
Oh, absolutely not. I'm not a rich boy yet. We're working on
Working
that,
on it.
but so there's a lot of different ways that I try and get the cheapest possible flight as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So one way, which is the first time I think I've done this. So there's a trip the group trip I'm going to is going to Asia, and I know a lot about booking like Europe trips and finding the fair errors and fair deals that way, but not really in Asia. So I booked my flight back. We booked one way, so they ended up being cheaper. But Google, of course, is a good one to go
Okay,
to.
so Google
But
Flights.
also, yeah, so Google Flights, you can even type in flights.google.com. You can set up alerts for when flights drop. So even if I'm thinking about going somewhere, I'll just go ahead and do that search, and then I'll put a price tracker on it. So I might not know when I want to go, but at least I'll have that reminder come in. Hey, this flight is dropping, or you may want to book now. The flight's going to go up. I know there's a few other apps like Skyscanner does that as well. Hopper does it as well. So flight alerts are a good way to do that.
Okay, and it kind of keeps it
And
top of mind just in case, like,
yeah, because you may just know that you have vacation time coming up and you don't know where you're going. Set up those alerts, and you can have maybe 5 or 6 going to specific destinations. Then you can just go. Um, Another way is going directly through the airline.
mm,
There's a website called Norwegian.com where I booked my flight back from Bali, is where we're headed, and actually went through the website, and depending on where you're going, like people want you to get out there, and once you're out there, they know you pretty much are going to come, or the majority of folks want to come home, right?
mm-hmm.
So the flights back will cost a lot more. So booking through Norwegian, they have different portals where you can book from. You might live in Sweden, or you might live in these different countries. So you actually can change where you're booking from by clicking on a different country as your origin. That can edit the price some and save you some money there. You might have to book it in a different language, but I saved about $50 on a flight. So a few minutes of research made it worth it.
Wow, wow, that's like when I think about original, flight tips, that I learned before I
Hmm.
started traveling. That was one of them. That's like real old school to me because a lot of that's work, bro.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely can be. But at the end, like most of the actually, I think all of the overseas flights I've taken, I don't think I've ever paid more than $300 round trip.
Wow. Well, it's worth it then. Damn. That's why I'm just gonna pay you to do this shit for me, because, bro, like we might be going on a trip in like literally a month, and I'm just sitting at home, just not buying the ticket. I'll be there, but it's so hard for me because my life is so variable, man, and it trips me out, and especially now that I don't have like a
Yeah.
solid working schedule outside of this
Uh-huh.
podcast, or it's just like, can I really commit to a week in a month? I don't know.
Oh man, you're next level, bro. You're next level. You know your risk tolerance though.
Extremely, extremely high. We're always ready to listen. I was happy I just stopped missing flights this year, bro, because
Oh man.
I was missing them left and right.
Man. Well, hey, there's growth right there, you know?
Or just a new pattern of being a degenerate, whatever
Yeah.
floats your boat. So let's talk about the trips you got coming up. You mentioned Bali. That sounds lit. You mentioned heading out to Africa. So you tell me, and then I'll ask more questions.
Gotcha. Yeah, so Bali's for sure. I'm going in 2 weeks now. I guess like 2.5 weeks,
Yeah, my guy.
maybe.
Yeah.
Somehow I'm gonna end up in Singapore for a couple days. That was the cheapest flight or the best route coming back. And I was like, hey, we can go to Singapore for like $70 and then fly back for like $200. It's like, yeah, let's do that. So
Wow.
going to be in Bali. This is going to be a new experience for me, not only just like being in an Asian country, but doing a group trip like this where it's an actual vacation. Uh, that's gonna be weird to me because I usually go like to actually like explore, travel. Like I'm not trying to do anything luxurious. I'm just trying to go and experience stuff. So this will be cool. This will be cool. I'll try to chill out for a little
And
bit
this is one of those
while I'm
kind
out
of
there.
heavily advertised, black, travel experiences, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, and I mean, I feel like all these are tying back to your guest on the show, 'cause Ant, who was on there with Black Travel Fest. That's actually who's doing this trip. and they're planning everything, which is weird to me. So I'm used to like having my hands on everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're putting it together, and like it looks really dope so far. It's super. It's like if anybody's wanting to travel and they feel like planning is overwhelming, I would check into these travel groups because they do the planning for you, and you can at least get your feet wet and try it out, see how you like it. And I think a lot of people would feel that they can do that moving forward just on their own,
Right.
or maybe keep up with the groups. Like that's a good way of just getting out there in the first place.
Right. At least see how it could be done once, and then figure out what works for you and what doesn't. Okay, so that's lit.
Yeah.
That's lit. And Ant's good people, so I'm sure you're gonna have a good time. I'm curious to hear your experience. We'll be talking.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to rap about that.
Yeah. So what else do you have coming up after that?
After that, I don't know. Like I really don't know. I did get invited to a wedding in Nigeria by a guy that I met in London, which just my life just sounds kind of random. Like I don't have any ground into it. But he's getting married in Nigeria. He invited me to come out, and I was like, why not? Like I've never been to Africa. That's a place that I want to go anyway. Might as well go with some lit folks and go to a wedding. So that's in like November of next year. So
Bro, like we're not just talking we're talking a Nigerian wedding. My guy.
man, my sister's Ethiopian. Well, her husband's Ethiopian, so their Ethiopian family was at her wedding. And it was just so like we had two. We had an American one and an Ethiopian one. It was so lit. So I can only imagine how far in they're gonna go at this wedding.
Bro, you have to be there.
So have you already been to an Ethiopian wedding?
I haven't been to
or a Nigerian wedding?
You know what? Now that I think about it, I'm trying to think of how many weddings I get invited to. Not many. And how many have I actually attended? None. but but from what I know of the culture and keeping up with social media, YouTube, look up Nigerian wedding on YouTube and tell me if that lituation is something you're interested in, because it's a different level. There's a lot of people throwing money. There's dances.
Yeah.
There's a lot of extravagance. There's
I've seen the videos, bro.
Bro, you could be starring in a minor music video, a very personal one.
That's factual. That's gonna be dope. I'm hella excited to go and see this. Like, the energy is gonna be like video is one thing, but energy is gonna be so much, like so crazy.
And I partied with Nigerians.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it pushed me to some of my limits. Yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait for that. I don't know. I have a few other places that I have on my to go list. I do want to go to Japan.
Yeah, you want to go to the Olympics? Let's go to the Olympics, bro.
Yo, let's do that. What is that? 2020?
2020. Goku's the mascot. I think it's 2020.
Whew.
It feels right.
All right.
Yeah, because it's all on our presidential elections so far. So.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Man, it feels right. Let's do it.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, dude. Yeah, we've been talking about that though. Let's just pop off and go to the Olympics, check it out, hit Tokyo for a couple days, then stroll out west to Kyoto or something like that. It'll be lit.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What else is on the list
cool.
that kind of calls out to you? Anybody anywhere else in Africa? It's such a huge place, bro.
Oh, I know. I mean, like, of course, I want to check out the southern countries, Johannesburg. I definitely want to make this. Absolutely has to I either have to just like pick up and move there, or I have to like do this in multiple legs of travel. But either way, it's going to get done. Like I want to go to Ethiopia. I want to check out Egypt, Nigeria, bro. I don't think you can really have enough places on your list to go in Africa.
I would agree. There's a lot of diversity, different things to see everywhere, just a whole different cultural taste depending on what country you're in. So definitely have some highlights. One of the things that drives me crazy, and you probably know this, when people are like, hey, do I either want to go to Thailand or Africa? And I'm like, it's not a country. Black folk, it's not you have 54 to choose from. A few of them, a couple of them you don't want to go to right now. But like good 50 you can choose from, and they're all so different. They're like, oh my, just pick one, pick five.
Oh, that was the geography section right there.
Man, pick five. Pick five you've heard of. You'll probably enjoy one of those. Don't pick five you haven't heard of. And when you come back, go to those unknown ones. But Stop saying I can't
Right.
decide if I want to go to Beijing or Africa. It's like, what the fuck are you
Yo.
talking about?
Whoa. None of this works like this. That's not
No.
how it works.
All right. Do I want to go to Ireland or Asia? Those sound like two completely different decision-making processes. It seems like you haven't decided enough.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like you need to do some more research and I don't know, maybe go to like Festival of Nations or something. Go pick a food you like and go to that country.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. Are there any international music festivals? Because you haven't played overseas yet, have you? You haven't toured overseas yet.
No.
Okay.
No, not yet. Oh, there's so I want to do Afro punk in other countries. And I know there's a few.
Yeah.
I want to go to the Montreal Jazz Festival
Okay.
in July because I haven't been to Canada, so that would be cool. So there's a couple places like, and then like even if there were like whatever festivals they have in like Cuba and some of those Caribbean islands,
Carnival.
their music's that would be one that would be lit. Their music style is just so different. Just the inflections they put on things and just how they interpret music, like that would be amazing.
Yeah, 100%. But even in that little bit that you just shared, you've talked about different ways to get involved with travel. So if traveling for the sake of meeting people isn't your thing, like you said, find a food you like and go to the place it comes from. That's a brilliant idea.
Mm-hmm.
Or find something else you like music. There are tons of music festivals going on all across the world. Combine those two things and kind of use travel as the vehicle to get to,
Yeah,
maybe there's a very nice knitting convention somewhere and you get to go overseas to do that. Like that's a great way to incorporate travel in a way that feels kind of a little bit more objective.
mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe a little more close to home. Like you said, like even some people might laugh at like a knitting convention, but like that's I'm sure that's a thing in a lot of countries. There's I don't know. There's so many things you can just. I had someone say like, "Hey, I'm in this country. I'm gonna find yellow today," and they mean I'm gonna find something that's the color yellow. So I'm going to walk, like with no plan in mind, and I'm just gonna search out this color and see what this adventure brings for me today. Like some people just like that. Like I love doing stuff like that. Or maybe graffiti or art is your thing. Like it's endless. The possibilities are endless.
Right, they're ways tied into everything that can make sense for anyone. I think,
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't really like being on planes like that. That's dope, dude. I appreciate you sharing that. And before we wrap up, I'm definitely going to ask you, what kind of stuff do you have coming up? We talked about some of your trips. Do you have any ventures? Do you have any ideas, pet projects, passion projects you're working on, or you just going with the flow and kicking it?
Yeah. So one thing that I do want to do more of last year, I did a passport activation event. I just did it at my job, just starting off, and just the feedback from it, and I think the joy that it gave me, that just seeing people who who imagined this impossible thing like getting a passport, which to a lot of travelers at this point, we're like, this is a very simple thing and it's easy to do, but until you've done it, it can seem like the hardest thing in the world. And so just being able to be a platform for folks to come and get their passports and my basis is like, get your passport. Don't worry about a place to go. Once you get your passport, like I got my passport and I didn't necessarily have any place to go. Once I got it, I was like, oh man, shit, this travel bug is hitting me. I have to go somewhere. So like that's a joy to me. So I want to do more of that like in the upcoming year and being able to, just onboard more people for travel.
100%, man. I think that's really dope. And I'd love to talk about that, to either be involved in St. Louis, because it never hurts to go home and see all of my extended
Mm-hmm.
family up there, or see if maybe you want to come down to Dallas and we can do, partner up and do something like that, because,
Yeah.
I got a nice camera now. We can print some paper, but this is a thing. A lot of Americans don't travel or even have passports, and especially for Black
Mm-hmm.
Americans, that's why we we give passports away. And you've done a really good job. You've been instrumental in getting a couple people plugged into the show so that they get their passports. We haven't announced a lot of
Oh,
it yet,
dope.
but I sent out 3 checks last week, which gives us a total of 4. And 2 of those people were in St. Louis.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. It's funny. It's like it's cool to see the progression from people you talk to, and like so I watched like the people that influenced me to travel, like Darnell, and I had other people that influenced me, and then just like coming from where I was there to where I am now, and just like continuing that cycle. We're gonna have like 4 generations of Black travelers on our hands, and know that we were part of that first movement or that push to get people to do it.
100%, man. And I'm going to keep doing what I do and hopefully find some people, some of our elders who've been doing this for a while through the military or for other reasons, man, because they have a whole different perspective. And like we were talking about, that intergenerational thing, there's so much value there. So definitely look out for that coming up on the show. But I love that you're committed to that, man. I think giving back to the community in a way that's meaningful to everybody, you know, yourself included, is super dope.
Mm-hmm. Man, right on, bro. Appreciate it. And same to you, bro. You've been super influential and to me and a lot of other people. So I can't wait to see where the podcast is next year. You're gonna have so much information. It's like whatever you need. You can check out episode 425. Start indexing it, man.
All right, we're gonna come out with the first podcast cookbook. Like, what are you trying to do with your life? All right, take a little bit of session 13, session 32, and a little bit of session 2. And then,
got you.
Right, exactly. You'll be retired by 35. It'll be cool.
Perfect.
Yeah, I like that podcast cookbook. Well, bro, I'm so glad that I could get you on the show. We've been trying to do this. I say this a lot, but there's a lot that comes in with coordination. And for the record, organization's not my strong point, y'all. Building shit and thinking of stuff is, but the actual organizing, it's tough. It's rough. So I'm glad I get you on the show, and I know there's a couple other homies in St. Louis I definitely want to put on and get to know you guys more and give you guys a platform to share your stories. I think this means a lot for anybody in the area or who knows you to hear your perspective and be, you know, influenced and inspired by it. And I'm happy to just provide the airspace and, you know, the platform.
Awesome, man. Yeah, it's a great thing, man. So keep up the good work, man.
Yes, sir, man. And maybe we'll be on a trip in a month. We'll see if I can buy this ticket.
Yeah, we'll see. It's playing roulette here.
Yeah, real quick, where's the best place for people to get a hold of you? Because I know you're active on the social medias. There's a lot of cool music and art stuff that passes through your pages, along with your thoughts, your lock growth. Where's the best place for people to keep up with you, bro?
So you can find me at the word damn and then the word Lordell, Lordell, and you can find me there on all platforms.
At Damn Lordell. So between Darnell last week being a clever bastard and you being Damn Lordell, like this show's really going downhill.
Oh man,
I love it though. I really love it. So thanks, bro. We'll definitely make sure to include a link and all that in the show description. And yeah, man, we'll catch up soon.
Awesome, man. And also, I just want to put this out there for all the listeners that you say you don't have. Tweet Jerry at Jerry_THE3RD and let him know you listen to the show. Because I'm sure you will have responses, bro. We're doing good work here.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, yeah. Well, at least I know I got 3 people to listen every week, and that's rewarding enough, man. I love doing this. But we'll catch up soon, and yeah, man, safe travels, bro.
Hey, same to you, bro. Appreciate it. Maybe we'll see each other in a month. Maybe not.
You know, we'll work on it. All right, man. Have a good one.
All right, you too, bro.
All right, peace.
Peace.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lordell Rush II. Make sure you check him out on Instagram and Twitter at Damn Lordell. And thank you so much, bro, for being on the show. I really appreciate the variety of topics that we can always talk about. And thank you for putting the people on to couch surfing. I don't think that's something that's come up once on the show yet. But in addition to your travel hack tips for getting good prices and just your general adventures, couch surfing is something that people can check out. And even if you're not traveling, it might be worth it to be a part of the community so that when people are traveling through internationally or maybe from other states, you can host them and learn about their different experiences, especially if you're looking for a different sort of social outlet. I think couch surfing is pretty dope. So thanks again, bro. Hope to talk to you soon, and maybe we will be on a trip in the next month. I'll work on it. That's all on me. So ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys enjoyed this session 18 here at the Point Noir podcast. Thank you so much for your support. And until next week, I'm Jerry the Third, signing off.